Hi, my name is Haley Blackwell, and this is my presentation. Which reproductive mode is better, sexual or asexual? Starting off with a quote, "The species is temporary, it has no eternal life, it either dies or is converted by modification into other forms." Throughout the presentation, there'll be a better understanding of this quote as I'll go into the evolution of asexual and sexual reproduction, and I'll go into the more detail on both of those types of reproduction. Starting off with asexual reproduction, it can be defined as the reproduction that doesn't require the fusion of gametes or sex cells or the change in the number of chromosomes. Some facts are it only involves one organism. Some plants and unicellular organisms are asexual or use asexual reproduction. Mitosis is essential for not only asexual reproduction, but also growth and regeneration. Moving on to sexual reproduction, it can be defined as reproduction that requires the fusion of haploid female gametes, also known as egg cells, and the haploid male gametes, also known as sperm cells. In comparison to the asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction requires both a male and a female, so two parents are required. Most males and fish use sexual reproduction, and the two parents produce genetically different offspring. Going deeper into asexual reproduction, starting off with evolution, is extremely limited room for variety. DNA mutations happen but aren't as common compared to sexual reproduction. This can be found in lower organisms, and the number of offsprings in asexual reproduction are 2 or more from the parent. And like I said before, it only requires one parent to reproduce. Some of the types, I'll go deeper into this later on in the slideshow, are budding, vegetative reproduction, spore formation, and fragmentation. Some cell division examples are fission, regeneration, and budding. Now, this process is very short term. It doesn't take that long to reproduce asexually, which is why asexual reproduction is more common than sexual reproduction. Some of the advantages and disadvantages: the offspring are identical to their parent, and as they have the same genes as their parents. Another advantage: they not only can take on different forms, but can also adapt to changing environments. While still successfully reproducing, the offspring can be created successfully without the need of partnership. Some disadvantages are it is essentially a clone of the parent, as I said before. If there are any negative mutations within the parent organism, they will be passed down to the offspring. Asexual reproduction happens a lot more than sexual reproduction, as I also said before, and this is because it's easier to complete as it doesn't take as much time. Only one parent is involved in the reproduction of an asexual organism. Now, this can be a disadvantage because there's very little diversity between the parent and its offspring. It makes the species vulnerable to diseases and infections, which can cause it to be harder for the offspring to adapt. Moving on to sexual reproduction, starting off with the evolution, new generations of offspring or kids are genetically diverse, which is very crucial to the evolution. This can be found in higher invertebrates and all vertebrates. The number of offspring are 1 or more, and unlike asexual reproduction, it takes 2 parents to produce. Some of the types are syngamy and conjunction. Cell division, it requires meiosis, and the time taken, it can take several months to complete, unlike asexual reproduction. Some of the advantages of sexual reproduction are it produces genetic variation in the offspring. Diseases are less likely to spread and affect all the individuals in the population. And the species or organisms can adapt to the new environments due to variation. And this gives the species or organisms more of a survival advantage. Moving on to the disadvantages of sexual reproduction. Reproduction is uncertain. It's not always a 100% successful method of creating offspring. In order to find a mate and reproduce, it takes time and energy, and the most favorable genetics are not guaranteed to be passed down to the offspring. The offspring can receive a combination of their genetics, and it is common for the offspring to obtain inheritance patterns. This could mean a male and a female sexually reproduce, and the female wants the offspring to have her eyes, but ends up having the male's eyes or one of their other features. Types of asexual reproduction. Going deeper into the types, budding is a form of asexual reproduction of yeast. New cell grows out of the body of the parent. Vegetative reproduction, plants budding, which creates a runner. The runner sends a clone. Some more examples can be shown on this slide as well. Going deeper into the types of sexual reproduction, there are only two types of sexual reproduction, which are syngamy and conjunction. Syngamy takes place in multicellular organisms, while conjunction takes place in single-celled organisms. Now, these can both be shown down below. In conclusion, sexual creation is altogether different from agamic creation on account of qualities that are needed for everyone. They are distinctive in numerous ways that can be clarified through the life cycles. It relies upon posterity it has and the number of guardians. Shown down below, in conclusion, to wrap it up, is a little chart that shows the differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a nice night.